Okay, so this is going to be my student case study in which I'm going to talk about one of the students that attends the school that I teach at, the Jackson Hole Middle School. So, little introduction. The student's name is Miguel. He is an eighth grade student, and one of the big kind of sociological issues that we face here in Jackson is that we live in a tourist economy, and that creates a lot of jobs um, for immigrants, especially. So a lot of labor jobs, thinking things like working in hotels, working in restaurants, construction, art, carpentry, things like that, which attracts a lot of workers and also a lot of kids. So in Miguel's case, many of these kids are actually born here in Jackson, so their parents immigrate to Jackson. But in Miguel's case, he actually came to Jackson when he was in fourth grade. Um, he's a funny, popular, and outgoing kid. He's pretty confident in himself, but he's also a bit manipulative, and a bit of a troublemaker. So if you kind of give him the space to work with, he's been known to kind of take advantage of teachers, take advantage of other students, things like that. A little bit of background. So he immigrated from León, Mexico to Jackson, Wyoming, with his sister to reunite with their mom, who had left Mexico a few years earlier. And this story is pretty common for some students here in Jackson. So when he left Mexico, he left a pretty oppressive yet loving environment where he was raised by his grandmother for the most part, as his mom left when he was pretty young. And he arrived in Jackson with no English ability, also with no documentation, and very little knowledge of American culture, of American school systems, obviously, and how that all works. So was raised in a completely different culture and in a different school system. So now he lives with his mom, which he reunited with, and his stepfather, with whom unfortunately he has a pretty negative relationship. So there's still quite a bit of tension at home. Even further, his older sister, who's about 3 or 4 years older than him, already has a young child since they moved to the United States, and because of that, got kicked out of their mother's house. So he is, facing a lot of family issues, a lot of family tension, a lot of trust issues, and things like that at his household, as you can probably, um, as you can assume, leaving this place where he was raised in Mexico with his grandmother, who he thought of like a mother, coming here and then really feeling, because of what happened to his sister and because of his relationship with his stepfather, feeling pretty disconnected from his mother and from his family situation, which obviously will lead to some disruptions in his or disruptive behavior in school. So positives: his English ability has drastically improved since his arrival. And I think this is largely due to his social ability, his ability to make friends, his ability to exist in a social group, and also to his intelligence. So, his teachers profess that he's very good at critical thinking. So he's able to find solutions to problems. He has very good survival skills, as you can imagine. I mean, immigrating at 9 years old or so to a new country by himself. I mean, pretty unfathomable. And he's also a strong speaker. So when he's given the chance, he's articulate. He does a good job, although he is still quite nervous about public speaking, especially in English. He's very athletic, so most of his social circle comes from his soccer team, which has proven to be a very, very positive thing for him. And again, has resulted in him drastically improving his English since he's come here, his ability to exist within that athletic group, within that group of soccer. And then lastly, he has a great relationship with his case manager. So he has a case with the Department of Family Services here due to his situation at home, and also due to the fact that he has already been caught or been in trouble with the law because of controlled substances. And you can imagine, he's 13, 14 years old. So that can lead to some very difficult things down the road. Problem areas: he has a pretty low writing, spelling, and reading ability, both in Spanish and in English. So he is bilingual, of course. He speaks very good Spanish, and his English is rapidly improving. However, his writing ability and his reading ability in both languages are fairly behind. So regardless of the fact that he is bilingual, learning another language also made his Spanish suffer a little bit, and it's going to take some time and quite a bit of work to get his English reading and writing ability to a point that is on par with other eighth grade students. So for the most part, does not complete his at-home assignments, and especially in the environment that we're living in now, where we have the cohorts, where each cohort only goes to school twice a week and then completes assignments at home on their off days. That's a pretty big chunk of his grade. So if you're not completing your at-home assignments, you fall behind very quickly, and it's pretty difficult to get that back. So he also often misses school. His mother works all the time, doesn't have a very great relationship with his stepfather. So in many ways, there's not much incentive, or not many people incentivizing him to get up early to go to school, because he kind of has to do that all on his own, because for the most part, even on the days that he does go to school, from what I understand, his parents leave the house before he even wakes up. So it's really on him, and that's a lot of pressure for a very young person. And again, as a result of all of this, little to no academic help at home. So his parents don't speak any English, or at least any English that would be able to have a positive influence on his learning. So very little to no academic help at home. And again, all of this kind of accumulates to he's on his own academically in many, many ways. So interventions, youth and family services. So he meets weekly with a case manager there. And in speaking with her, I met her one time, and she really has a wonderful relationship with him. And she's really a godsend for him, and does everything that she can to try to help. But really, it's more personal things. So more talking about life and trying to figure out what's going on inside of his head, as opposed to helping him do schoolwork and things like that. So different parents of kids on his soccer team, and even administrators, fundraise and chip in and do all that they can to allow him to travel for soccer. Where we live, it's a pretty isolated place. So to travel, you're traveling up to 8 hours sometimes for a tournament over the weekend. Obviously, that takes gas, it takes hotels, it takes food. So it's quite expensive to play. But he has been able to, through the generosity of many community members, to continue to participate in that, which has been huge for him. Meets with a mentor once a week. So through his case manager at the Youth and Family Services, he was assigned a mentor, and his mentor is actually one of his soccer coaches, and they have a very good relationship as well. And that's a little bit more academic, but again, mostly personal. So still has a pretty big void in terms of finishing his work. So at my school, they offer a program called AVID, which essentially is a class for students who are potentially struggling, or have the maybe will be struggling in the future, especially when it comes to high school, in which they talk about how to succeed academically, how to be organized, things like that. Talk about college scholarships, and things along those lines. So really, how to be successful in the future, which I think has been helpful for him. And then also attends dual immersion classes. So we offer some classes like history in Spanish. So both for native Spanish speakers and students who have been in the dual immersion program for their whole academic careers. So they're able to participate in these classes together, which is great for him. But again, questionable as to whether this is overall positive for him or not, because again, his English writing and reading ability is pretty far behind. So though this helps a little bit with his Spanish, still he needs a lot of intervention in terms of English learning. Also, one more thing: on Fridays we do something called Success Squad, where on Fridays school is all virtual for the majority of students. So we hold Zoom classes, where students Zoom in from home, but then students who are struggling are given the chance to come in on Fridays and complete any missing work. So he does participate in that pretty regularly. Further concern. So as Miguel gets older, he will experience further barriers that will disconnect him from a normal life in the USA. And this is something that is very true amongst a majority of undocumented immigrant students, just due to the political environment that we're living in now. So, because of these things, he feels now and will continue to feel little incentive to succeed academically. Um, because as he gets older, the reality is that because he does not have a social security number, he will be unable to receive federal grants or scholarships for college. It's going to be very difficult for him to enter into the workforce. And because of the fact that he is already, quote unquote, in the system due to his encounter with the law at such a young age, it's going to be very hard for him to get out of that position and kind of have the freedom to be on his own without having to meet with case managers and things like that. And just the reality is, if he continues on this academic path, he may drop out from high school, which could lead to some negative consequences in the future. And then again, just one more thing that doesn't relate to school is that he'll be unable to attain a driver's license because of his citizenship status here. And these are just some things that are just the reality for students who do not have that social security number.